Today we're going to be talking about the eighth wonder of the world according to Albert Einstein. He said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Now, not going to spend a lot of time on this video discussing paying it, but real quick on that, anything that's denominated in fiat currencies is losing value at a compounded rate, and there are things you can do to grow at a compounded rate. So that's what we're going to be discussing here. And if you think you've seen this kind of content, you understand what compound interest is, that might be true. But what you may not understand is how to actually apply it using cryptocurrency. So that's what this video is going to be about. Now, before we get to that, gotta do the house cleaning type stuff, which is to say this is not financial advice. It's for illustration purposes only. Investing is risky. Cryptocurrency investing is even more risky. You should be prepared to lose every dime that you have before making any final decision. You should consult with your lawyer, CPA, any consultant that you can think of. A fiduciary would be even better, right? That's not us. This is for illustration purposes only. Okay, let's get into it. We are going to use a very simplified example, and the reason why we chose all the values that we did here is because 8 could be divided in half to 4, and then divided in half to 2, and then divided in half to 1, right? So this can scale up and down. This could be 1,000 token, or it could be 10,000 a token. This could be 8 tokens, it could be 80 tokens, or 0.08 tokens. The scale doesn't matter. The point is to illustrate what's going on. So let's say that we have a token that is normally at $2,000. It dips to $1,000 and then goes back to $2,000. Okay, so the 8 tokens at $1,000 would be worth $8,000. The 8 tokens at $2,000 would be $16,000. And most people, they buy the tokens, they hold the tokens, and they watch it just go up and down in value, and they're hovering somewhere around here. What we're going to cover is actually how to multiply your tokens. So let's go through that. We're going to be looking at the graphs in a second, but I wanted to stay zoomed in over here so that we could look at the actual math, and then from there we'll look at the graphs, and it'll visually be easier to understand looking at the graphs. So what we're doing here is we're starting with 8, we're buying 4 more, which takes on a debt of 4,000, because remember the price is 1,000. If you're buying 4 times 1,000, that's $4,000 in debt. And then when the price goes up to 2,000, we're selling 2 of them, and now when we started with 8, we bought 4, sold 2. When we sell this 2, it pays it off. We have a net of 10 tokens, and those 10 tokens are worth 20,000, when if we didn't do this step, it would have been worth 16. So we're already up right there. So let me show you this graph. Okay, so on the purchase side, let's take a look at this. You have 8,000 that you started with, then you take on a debt of 4,000, and you buy tokens with it. So at that moment in time, the tokens are worth 4,000. So you put them on here, right? So you have the 8,000 plus the 4,000. And what I want to point out is that at the moment you took out the loan, 4,000 is half of 8,000, right? But when you take the 4,000 and add it to the 8,000, you now have 12,000 here worth of assets and only 4,000 in debt, which means 1/3 of your total value is debt, right? So that's the situation right now. However, that's at 1,000. Let's see what happens when it goes to 2,000. So this is still the 4,000 debt, but each token doubled in value. So now you can pay off the 4,000 in debt right there. That goes away, and you're left with $20,000. Now, because, and we'll stick with the graphs on here, we won't look at the numbers in detail, but we go back to the graph on the second cycle, and now, before we had 8 tokens, now we have 10, each worth 1,000, right? So $10,000 worth of tokens. Half of that is 5,000, when the previous cycle was 4,000, right? So every time we go through one of these cycles, we're compounding the interest, we're growing it, and there you go. 10 plus 5 is 15. There's 5. 1/3 of the debt again. Exact same thing, just repeating it 10 times, right? So again, it goes up in value. You take the debt, you pay it off, and your net is 25,000. So it would have been worth 16,000, but we've had 2 of these cycles, and it's now worth 25. Real quick on this third one, just to cover it, same thing, buying 1/3 of it. When it drops to 1,000, the tokens that we had, the 12.5 tokens worth $1,000 each would be 12,500, right? Half of that, take the loan, same thing, okay? Pay it off, okay? And then you have a net value of 31,250. So let's go through what 10 of those looks like. So if you see here, here's what it would have been worth at 2,000, but because of the multiplying cycles, after the first one is worth 20, second one is worth 25, third is 31, 48, 61, 76, 95, 120, I'm rounding, and 150. Now, that is 9.3 times what it would have been. And I could have modified this, right? So instead of saying 33% of the debt, if I made it 40% of the debt, the numbers wouldn't have been as clean for that example, but it easily could have pushed it up to 10x. So I'm just gonna leave it as 10x just so that simple math that we can follow along with. What would happen if you went another 10 cycles, right? So if you went from 16 to 150, another 10 cycles of that would put you closer to 1.5 million. Another 10 cycles from that, where would that put you? Close to 15 million. Okay, what if instead of having that many more cycles, you just started with more capital? Okay, it scales infinitely, up or down. Now, there is a slight thing that if you get really, really big, like tens of millions, you can actually move the market, and your purchases actually affect the market price itself. And so that's a concern that you can deal with when you get to that point. Right now, it's not really a concern. I mentioned earlier how the debt, in this case 8,000, takes on half of the debt, 4,000, which would be 50% of that. But once you take it and resupply it, it's now 1/3, because 4,000 plus 8,000 is 12,000. 4,000 divided by the 12,000 is 1/3, right? And so we can make it 1/5. We could make it 80% instead of being 1/3. And so let me show you what that looks like. So with this, the price doesn't really matter because it's true at any price point. And so we're not even using prices here. It's just to explain the concept. You have one token and you could borrow 4 more tokens with debt, resupply those, and you end up at a ratio where you have a debt of 4 tokens to a total supply of 5 tokens, and it works out to an 80% loan to value. Now, the reason why you wouldn't want to do that right away is because that 80% is sort of the maximum you can go to. So if the value of your tokens decreases, the example we used was them increasing, then what would happen is they would be selling the assets automatically in order to pay down the debt, which is why you can get these loans in the first place, is they're secured by the collateral. So if the price goes down, they do a margin call or a liquidation, they pay off the debt with that. And so because that's the case, the simple strategy is not to go all the way to this 5x position right away. So what do we do instead? So instead of taking out all the debt all at one time, what we do is we spread out the debt over a spectrum of pricing. And so this is just in blocks so that you can see it. But if we cut these blocks in half and we changed, instead of being $300 between each one, it was $150, then we could have twice as many blocks. We could do that again and make it 75. We could cut, right? And so you could have an infinite number of blocks, and what you'd end up with is a straight line where whatever the price is, you buy onto the line, and then you'll see in selling, you just sell to the line. But in this example, we're gonna use these blocks because it makes it easier to understand. So in this case, the price is normally 2,000. That's how we started this entire example. Drops to 1,800. Let's say you define that's when you start buying. So you buy at 1,800. Price goes down, you buy more. Price goes down, you buy more. Price goes down, you buy more. Now, would you have been better off buying it all right here? Yes. However, you don't know that it's going to go there. All you know is that it is going down and it may go back up again. So in this example, let's go to the next one and say that it goes up, right? So when we sell at 1,200, we're paying off the debt that we took on at 900. When we sell at 1,500, we're paying off the debt that we bought at 1,200. When we sell at 1,800, paying off the debt we bought at 1,500. And then we bought at 1,800, so when do we sell that? Well, if it was $300 increments, sticking consistent with the example, that'd be 2,100. But let's see what the market decides to do. Oh, it went down. It went down to 1,500. Okay, time to buy. Go back up, sell at 1,800. Now, it would have been better to not buy on here and just buy there, and then not sell here or here and just sell there. But you don't know what the market's going to do. So in this case, we see the market went down. Okay, another chance to buy, and then, oh, another chance to sell. Oh, another chance to buy, and then, oh, the market went down. And of course, it would have been better to not buy this and only buy there, but you potentially, if you were just waiting for the tops or waiting for the bottoms, you could have missed selling it here, never had the opportunity to buy there, missed selling it here, never had the opportunity to buy there, and definitely didn't have the opportunity to buy there if you weren't selling on the way up, right? So if you spread it out like this, then what it does is every single move compounds you forward. Every single move. When you're selling this at 1,500, it's because you bought it at 1,200. Then you could buy again at 1,200. Oh, it keeps going down, so you buy more. You sell this to pay off that. You sell this to pay off that. And you're able to buy more because, right? So drop down, sell more, and then ultimately market price goes up, sell it again, right? And you just keep going on and off of the curve. Every single step you take moves you forward, compounding the quantity of tokens that you have. Now, one thing I want to point out in this example is that I didn't say that the value of the tokens was going up. If they did, then it's a multiplication of how many more tokens do you have multiplied by how much has each one gone up in value, and you end up with some very, very astronomically high numbers. And so this is the CiMPLE Epiphany. Multiplying your tokens is more important than whether or not the price goes up or down. It just is. Because if you can get a multiple of your tokens and the price goes down, you're still ahead. If it goes up, you're way ahead. So no matter what, you're way ahead. This is why Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, because you can grow incredibly fast with it. You can also lose with it, and that is with fiat currencies, but that's for another video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please hit that like button, subscribe, and leave comments below so that if we make a better version of this video, we incorporate the things that you say in the comments so that we pre-address any issues you may have. I hope you start multiplying, and I hope you do very, very well.